The worst drug you've ever done?
Ketamine.
I don't even know what that is.
Special K.
Oh, okay.
It's fucking disgusting. I hated that drug.
Why?
Well, the first time I did it, I was like, I don't feel it. And then the next time I did it, I was playing video games in Queens. I was living in Queens in New York, and this kid cut one. I was like, come on, I need a bigger line than that. So cut me a big line. I did a line. I was like, I don't really feel this shit. And I'm playing the video game. Then the dude starts coming back and beating me in basketball or whatever, and he looks over, and I'm just like in a catatonic state. I like fell into a K-hole. After I got up, I knocked over a bunch of shit in the kitchen, and I was like trying to throw up in the toilet, but I couldn't. I felt like I was gonna fucking die. And you know, being the addict that I am, I of course did more and did it a few more times after that. But I hated the length of acid. You know, mushrooms I could still, you know, fuck with. Like I would do them here and there, like over the years, because it's only 8 hours. But you know, a mescaline trip or an acid trip, man. I mean,
that's a long ride.
It's you know, 24, 36 hours. And, you know, you start to lose your mind. You think things are real. Even though you're trying to tell yourself it's not real. You get stuck in that. And you get stuck in a lot of crazy thoughts that are scary.
When was the last time you did acid, though?
I was in New York, and a friend of mine was selling ecstasy. So we used to pop around Manhattan. And I was selling ecstasy, too, but with him. But I would push it back to Boston or whatever, and kind of quantities and stuff like that. But he would run around and hit like the Upper West Side parties and stuff like that. So we were at a party. It was like 3 a.m, and there was no coke there. So this girl, I was kicking it with this girl out on like this deck, and she was like, well, I have acid if you want to do some drugs. And I was like, nah, I'm going to try to wait for some coke. And no coke happened, so I ended up doing one hit of acid, and she's like, it's really mild stuff. Why don't you take another hit? So I took another hit.
Oh, no.
And, man, I was so fucking bugged out. It was crazy. We left the party. It was like 6 a.m. We're over walking through the Queensbridge projects, because we lived in Long Island City, Queens. Walking through the projects at night, which, you know, as a white dude in the 90s, was not a good look.
Right.
I think they thought we would cops or junkies or something, but it just ended up being a night from hell. I was like stuck in my room, and the walls were closing in and out. I lost like 10 pounds throwing up. Wow. I was sick to my stomach. I was looking at myself in the mirror and just like, you know, seeing evil. Trying to calm myself down, playing Tribe Called Quest tapes. And no matter what I put on, it would speed up like that, or it would completely slow down like, yo, I could not get out of my head. I wanted to go to the hospital. I was so fucking tripped out. I had to go into work, so I like walked up to Steinway Street in Queens, and for some reason I thought if I wore a collared shirt I would be okay.
People wouldn't know.
I bought a collared shirt, and I'm like taking the train into Manhattan, tripping my balls, and I think I like walked up to the. I went into work, and I remember I looked at my boss's face, and it was like melting and shit, and I was like, I ate some bad chicken salad. I need to go home. I just got up and walked out.
It should be said that Slaine, you are sober now.
Yeah, I'm almost 6 months sober now. It was more like the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't mean like that to lighten what it was, but you know, a friend of mine passed away. I was home for the holidays, supposed to be visiting my son. I wasn't, you know, I did a show in Philly, and I needed drugs in order to stay awake, because I was like on a 3-day bender, and you know, I collapsed after I got off stage. You know, I felt like, you know, I needed to be rushed to the hospital, but I kind of wrote it out. Like, you know, my breathing started shutting down. I had been in the emergency room like a dozen times over last year.
Oh wow!
And my body was just quitting on me. I was throwing up 3 or 4 times a week for maybe the past 10 years. And, you know, like that had taken its toll. Like, I would just throw up casually. I'd be walking down the street, I'd just gotten so used to it, but my system was like revolting against me. And then I went and did a tour. I try to control it. Where, I would stop for 5 days, just drink on the weekends, and it just started spinning out of control. I realized like I was gonna die, number one, and number two, like I was starting to become a person that I didn't want to become. I knew I was never gonna be the father that I wanted to be. Because I could justify it before, because I could hold it together when I needed to, when I go home and see my son and all that. But it wasn't working for me, man. And I knew so many people that died doing the same thing I was doing. I was lucky to be where I was. I was lucky to be alive still. And I had overcome so many things, and gotten so many great opportunities that I just felt like, what a waste.
Yeah.
What a waste of any talents that I have. What a waste of the opportunities I've been given, and how disrespectful it is to the kids that I grew up with that have passed away from the same thing, for me to be pissing it all away like that. And I just wasn't happy with where I was at, and I needed to stop.
What was your first deal? What was your first
that's not really my story. Like, it's always, early on with Shan, I had to do the demos and stuff like that. But
what was your first?
It was always do it yourself. Like the White Man is the Devil Volume 1, I pressed up 50 copies of them, and I gave 10 copies each to 5 different drug dealers. And if you wanted to buy a bag of coke or a bag of dope or whatever, it was extra $10. You had to take the CD, otherwise you didn't get the bag.
That was the prize
and
inside.
I sold 13,000 copies like that.
No, you did. 13,000 giveaway copies?
They weren't giveaway.
Well, you got to buy.
Yeah.
Right.